Right. All right. Okay. So, Steven, CEO of Sweet Well Snacks. Um, I guess the first question, actually, I was wondering if we really get all the way to the beginning, how did you actually get into entrepreneurship? Did you initially start with the classic 9 to 5 job and then you went into it afterwards? Were you directly thrown into it? How did that actually happen?
Well, I grew up with entrepreneurs all my life. I was surrounded by them, so it's
Okay.
something that I felt comfortable with. I've seen the good and the bad and the struggles that come with entrepreneurship because everybody believes, it's an easy way or it's an interesting lifestyle. And as with everything, it's good and it's bad, it's
Yeah.
positive and negative. So yeah, I did the 9 to 5 job, never 9 to 5, because
Okay.
whenever you want to really do things well, you got to put some more hours in that. You got to
Yeah.
be earlier and leave later. And not because you're just showing off, but because you're taking more opportunities. The
Yeah.
more opportunities you take, the more you learn.
Hmm.
And if you're not in entrepreneurship right off the bat, what you want to do is be learning as much as you can, either because you want to grow within the organization or somewhere else, or just because whenever you do your entrepreneurship, you want to be able to do everything. Because this is very important. When you're an entrepreneur, you are everything. You're sales, you're marketing, you're production, and you're the cleaning person in the place. So you're everything, right? So yeah, I started with, let's say, the 9 to 5 corporate, managing sales, marketing, operations. I did a little bit of everything.
Okay.
And then I got into entrepreneurship.
Okay, yeah, like you say, you do wear many hats when you're an entrepreneur. You have to do everything. So, how were you then introduced into entrepreneurship? Did you just decide, okay, I have this idea, I want to build my company? Was it with a friend? What are the next steps, basically, for entrepreneurship for you?
Well, I think there are many ways to get into entrepreneurship, as everybody knows. Now, you can start from scratch, or you can get to something where it's already running at a certain speed, and then you get in. And that was my case. So there comes a point, and that depends on where you are in your professional level and maturity and development, right? So if you're out of college, then you can start your own thing yourself, because your opportunity cost is not going to be that high. When you've done a lot of corporate and you've gone and you've grown a lot, now you have a big opportunity cost. Should I be the CEO of something or the vice president of whatever else? Or should I start my company? Now, starting from scratch, then it's the opportunity cost is too high. Now, there are many companies that are already at a certain level, at a certain speed and a certain height in their path, that it's interesting for you to get in and you become part of that company. And that's another way to be entrepreneur. And I became a specialist in what it's called recovery and transformation.
Okay.
One of the things you do in transformation is how you take something from A to B faster, right? So either you're struggling and I'm going to make you well and I'm going to turn you around, or you're doing okay, but you should be doing much better. You should be doing things faster. And that's where you have an opportunity to become an entrepreneur. You go in and you make it faster. And that's what I did with Sweet.
Okay. So, when you say to get better, do you mean just for companies or also people's internal mindset, their beliefs, how they saw what they could basically achieve with themselves, if that makes sense as a question?
No, what you do, yeah, sure, I understand your question. So what you do is you go into a company and you want to make the company better, right? You want to
Okay.
turn it around. So again, it's not doing well and you're gonna turn it around, or it's doing very good or
Yeah.
great, but it should be doing much better.
Yeah.
When you get in, then you have to start using all your levers. And one of them, the first one is, who's your team? Who's your people? How do you motivate them? How do you train them? How do you do all the things you need to do to turn around or to speed up growth? So you're doing all, again, the hats. You have to do all those things. So it's not only product, it's only also your HR, your team, your people. It's everything.
Every, yeah, operations, finances, everything. So how did you
Yeah.
then have the knowledge to actually go into a company and help them? Was it that you started with your first job where you kind of had to have multiple hats again, and that knowledge allowed you to then have enough experience to help other companies, or did you just learn on the side yourself?
I think that's one of the interesting things when you go to college, right? You kind of learn one trade and then you become this,
Yeah.
and in reality, that's not how life works. That's not how the business works. You get into a job, and that's why you have to try to do the most you can in the most hours. And whenever a project comes in, you raise your hand and you become, because you never know how in what area you're really going to become an expert. What is it that you're really good at? and what is it that you really like to do.
Yeah.
And one of the things that happened to me really early is that I had my personality and my experience and my way of being was that I always migrated where there were problems. I love to solve problems, and I love to solve areas that had issues. So the tougher it was, the more I wanted to get in, call it a masochist spirit or whatever you like, but that's what I like to do. When the area was doing very well and had traction, then I kind of got bored, right? Things worked. People were doing what they wanted to do. Why would I spend my time with that?
Yeah.
So I always migrated to problems, and that's how I became a specialist of actually turning around areas or companies that had issues. So it's a little bit of where I kind of migrated naturally.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. They often say no, a very, very good skill for entrepreneurs is problem solving. And it sounds like you love that. And I could completely understand now why a company would want to have you, because wherever there's a problem, you're going to fix it. And where they don't need help, you're not even going to spend any time there. So you mentioned a little bit before that one of the levers very important is a team. So you've been and you've helped companies that have a very big team, also a smaller team. What would you then say is actually the difference between managing a big team and then a smaller team?
I think that has also to do with what we were just talking about in terms of whenever you have an area that is working really well. So somebody asked me one day, what type of leader are you? And I said, well, that depends on the problem. And that depends on what are we trying to solve. So whenever you have an area that is working really well, what you have to do is empower, let them go, give them more runway, right? And then don't mess around with them. Just don't interfere. Just, let them run, right? But whenever there's an area that has issues, then you have to get in and maybe micromanage. You have to get into the detail, get your sleeves up and go to the market and see what's going on. Because otherwise, you don't know if the problem is the product, if it is the people, which is it? Who's telling you the story? So you have to get involved. And that's one of the important things. You can't be a Mount Olympus managing things. You have to get down to where the action is to learn. And especially when things are not going your way. So managing is one of those things. You have to wear also many hats and many styles, and you have to adapt. Now, in terms of big teams and small teams, this is interesting also. There's many people that say, oh, managing billion-dollar companies is so difficult. The responsibility is so hard. And it's quite the contrary. Those are the easy ones, right? Because you have the resources. You have a lot of talent with you, right? You have director of this, director of that. You can hire consultants and you get, so it's easier. But whenever it's small, you don't have anyone to ask. It's you and yourself, and you have teams, but they may not have the talent at the same time or the experience, because otherwise they're too expensive. So it depends on when you call small, on what part of the growth curve of the company you are, what kind of resources are working with you, what kind of talent you have. So that will make challenges bigger or smaller depending on the size of company and where you are.
I love that. I love that actually, because it's true. You often think, the bigger the company, the bigger the problems. If it's a small company, it's easy. But it's true actually, if you think about the quality then of maybe having actual A players, if you have a big company, there's so much more potential. The budget is better. You can have such better quality of people. So they can maybe take care of more things. And also, like what you said with what type of leader you are, it depends what the problem is. Instead of just managing everything, sometimes you really do get into it and you pull up your sleeves and you actually really do help. So then, in terms of, because you probably have to make countless decisions, then how do you, or what is your decision making process that actually allows you to get closer to actually succeed?
Thinking process to succeed? I didn't understand that part.
Yeah, I said
What do you mean?
you probably have to make countless decisions. Always, how do you actually take your decisions? Where do you base your decisions on to get closer to having a successful, growing company?
Well, basically, what I do a lot is to have interiorize and speak with my team and interiorize myself. Where do I want to go? Where does the brand need to be, or the product, or the operation? Where is it that we want to? And then I try to align my decisions to that, right? Because every time you have so many different consequences to the decisions you have,
Yeah,
right? And there may be, and you can't look into the future and know exactly what's going on. So you have to stay true to what you believe of your brand. You can change that later on,
yeah,
right? But you have to change that, then you make the decisions. You don't make decisions that will change the brand. I don't know if that makes any sense. I
That's
mean, it's the order that you make things. So either you change the ethos or the spirit of what you're trying to do with your brand and your product
okay.
first in order to make other type of decisions, because otherwise then you are just firing all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So once you really know where you are, then you start committing to it. And then and commitment is very important. And then you have to be really disciplined with it, because there's so many things you can do, Christoph. There's so many businesses, so many flavors, so many sizes, so many packaging. I mean, so many clients. So where do you want to succeed? So you have to be really careful with that. And then once you understand that and you're disciplined, you just make decisions. You say, because otherwise the consequences are huge in the direction you don't want to be at. So
Yeah.
that's a little bit of the process that I take.
Okay, well, that goes actually perfectly into the next question because, like you mentioned, there are so many different options in terms of businesses, in terms of products, in terms of everything. How do you then, Stephen, come up or decide what brand or business you actually want to work with and some you just do not want to spend any time with?
Well, that goes with your values, what you've done, what you want to do, where you want to be, and what do you want to do every day. And I'm convinced about that. And you hear a lot of that nowadays. And you get into TikTok or Instagram, and everybody's talking about do what you love. And
Yeah.
there's a Japanese word they call the ikigai, find the place that you like and
Yes.
what you do well, and all those things. But at the end of the day, it's true.
Of
So it
course.
doesn't matter in what stage, but of course it changes in the stages of life you are. Sometimes you have the benefit of deciding. Sometimes you have to take things that may not be 100% aligned with what you like, but you're learning. So
Hmm.
you need to know what you're getting from the different things that you're given. In my case, it was I got to a point in my career where I picked what I wanted to do, and I picked a product that brings value to society, that I know that I want to give it to my kids, to my wife, to myself, and that it has residual value, right? That I'm doing something that's actually good, and then that motivates me, right? Because I could be selling products that are actually harmful for you. I can make money with that, but
Yeah.
I didn't want to be aligned with that. I want to be aligned with the other.
Okay, good. Yeah, because what you mentioned, I think a lot of people sometimes they do get greedy. You know, they see that they can make quick cash and they go with that. And it's really just enjoyable. And it's good to see that you could find products that you make money quickly, but you actually also want to have a product that you can have a positive impact with people. So you kind of answered my next question, but it was, that you've been a part of TOUS Jewelry, and then you became the CEO of Sweet Well Snacks. The transition into the health space, is that mainly why? Because you could actually help people better their life?
Yeah, well, I'm still involved with the TOUS jewelry at the Costa Rica level.
Okay.
That I'm still involved.
Okay.
But that's also fantastic because TOUS jewelry is an amazing product, and it's not in health, but it gives people their self of identity, and it gives women a way to express themselves and feel good about themselves. So that's another way to be, through fashion, and it's accessible. So it's amazing product with amazing design at accessible prices. Amazing concept. That's the TOUS side. Now, in terms of the health side, I mean, numbers are that more than 70% of people in the US, and this is true for almost every country now, are either overweight or obese. That's crazy,
Yeah.
70%. And everything is pointing to one same direction, which is sugar being one of the main culprits. And there's many reasons, but that's definitely one of the bigger ones. So whenever a product like this one fell in my laps, where we can actually give products that do not give you that sugar and problem, I said I gotta make this work, and that's a little bit how I got to stay in Sweetwell.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, I agree. 70%. So that's just a huge amount. It is terrible to think that people either they don't have the knowledge to make the right decisions, or they're only fed bad products. And again, it's just good to see then a brand that actually really tries to help people better their life with better products. So with this, even being such a competitive space, there are changes all the time. There are a lot of competitors as well. What do you then think of the idea of innovation to differentiate yourself while also then having the challenge to create awareness around that innovation?
Yeah, well, I'm going to answer that question, but first I want to go back to something you said in terms of, that getting into a company and doing things
Okay.
big and fast and getting a quick buck and even get quick
Yeah.
money.
Greedy.
I
Yeah.
don't know how to do that.
Okay.
See, I'm the type of entrepreneur and professional that I don't know how to make quick bucks. See, there's people that know how to do that. I don't. I know how to make it working a lot, and it takes a long time. Things do not come, and I think that's a problem nowadays that people believe, okay,
Yes.
I'll make a product and then it'll be big and I'll sell it tomorrow. Oh, that product market is so big, I'll get just 1% of the market, make it big, sell it. Nothing works that way, Christoph.
Yeah.
It does for a few, very, very few examples. That's as good as buying the lottery, right? Those
Yeah.
little ones that have made it so quickly. I always say that I'm going to be an 10-year overnight success, right? Or a 20-year overnight success. It's working. So it's never from one day to another. You have to do a lot of work. And then that goes to innovation. Now, one of the things that you have to do always is either you're winning in price or you're innovating, period. Yeah, you can have other things, distribution channels. You can have, a strong brand from something. There's many things. You can have an amazing quality, yes. But quality nowadays is really good. Majority of products you find in general, it's not like before, which was really good, really
Mhm.
bad, something in the middle. You have a lot of products that are fairly good. So quality is not now a luxury.
Okay.
It's a part of the game. If you want to play, you have to bring quality, period. And price, the market prices you. So in a lot of situations, price is related to the quality that you're giving. So that kind of becomes, so how do you differentiate? You got to innovate, you got to bring the A game, and then you have to start putting medals. So imagine, a big star general, he can't make it with one little star. You have to have a lot of them.
Yeah.
That's how your products need to look nowadays. It needs to bring a lot of functionality, and it has to bring you a lot of value to be able to differentiate. And then how do you communicate? Very tough. There's so much noise. And I
Yes.
think the best way is to be, so this is the main take. Everybody gets a nice packaging. Everybody gets a funky name, puts it in place to retail, and somebody will buy it. That's not the business. That's just the first step of business. The business is for that person to come back and buy it again.
Yes.
Then and there, you're starting to build a business. Is repeat purchase, and that's what you need to focus on. Am I really giving a product that people are gonna want to come back again to buy it, right? And if you do that, and if you focus on your product, you make a fantastic product. Fantastic. Forget about pricing, distribution. They'll all be there. You have to work for that as well, but you have to start with the other.
I love that. There are so many things we can cover on there, but going quickly back to the first part you mentioned, with people trying to make quick money. I don't know if you agree with me here, Stephen, or not, but I think that with social media nowadays, people have a very, very wrong expectation of how to actually become, quote unquote, successful, or how to build something. Everyone thinks that you just start, whether it's a company, you just launch a product, whatever, and within a couple weeks or a couple months, you can scale it and it's so successful. And like you said, everyone that's an overnight success have either been at it for countless years, or they've had multiple failures. So they fail, and then they have their success, and everyone just sees that success and calls it overnight. So do you also agree that nowadays people misinterpret, or they don't have the right understanding of how long it actually takes in order to achieve it?
Totally, totally. But that's an opportunity in
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
See, whoever is thinking like that is not going to make it.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm talking to the people here that are going to be resilient. If you're resilient, you stick to your guns and you work your product and you make a fantastic product and you keep on pounding, and you're not an overnight success, you just keep on pounding and doing, you will adapt. The product that you start today will not look like anything to what you're going to finish.
Yeah.
But that's resilience. You'll adapt. But that's the thing. If everybody's thinking they're going to do an overnight success, they're going to be frustrated really
Yes.
easily, and they're going to start something else, and they're moving and jumping. That's why you see people moving from one company to another, because they have all these expectations,
Yes.
like the world owes them something. And that's not the case,
At
right?
all.
You have to make things on you for yourself. So resilience. And while all these people are doing that, the one who stays and does things and works their behinds off they're gonna make it. They're
Yeah,
gonna make it
absolutely.
one way or the other.
I think also something is everyone always thinks that the grass is green on the other side, you know? So you're starting something, it doesn't work, or it didn't happen as quickly as you hoped it to happen. You try something else, and then you're going to see it's the same problem. And you're just going to keep hopping from project to project. And eventually, the guy that's actually stick to one thing from the start, he is so much further than the one that just kept hopping from one side to another. So I completely agree with you on that part. Going back then to what you said with a product where people just want to keep buying it, you know, in terms of retention, people they buy it once, they love it so much that they just want to keep buying. I think also what's really good when a brand can get that is they have word of mouth marketing that actually comes into play because you keep buying it, you love it, you talk about it with your friends, with your family, with I don't know, you might even post about it on social media. How do you think then, or what's your strategy to actually build a product and a brand that's built for retention and for high lifetime value of customers?
Well, it's a combination of things, of course, but one of the most important ones is understanding your customer. You need to know them.
Beautiful.
What do they want? Right. And you can't sometimes, and you can fall in a trap where you fall in love with your own product. But hey, do people in general really like? And what I'm talking about in general is to your target market, right?
Yes.
So when I say people in general, it's people in general in the market that you want to serve.
Hmm.
So I have a product that I've seen it work. People like it and come back and they taste it and you go to your wife and you go to your friends and you taste it and you have people all around and then but you have to broaden your market, right? It can't be just your friends because then that, a lot of people think the same, have been educated the
Yeah.
same. So you gotta be statistically confident with what you're doing. So try your product, put it out there, give people try sample, but sampling in a big, large way is going to be very expensive. But you can sample in your area of interest and by yourself. You can do it. Get a bucket of things and give it around and see how people react. Listen to them, and then you go adapting your product, and you throw it out in the market, and you listen to them, and you go back and that's what Amazon is very good at because they're brutally honest,
Yeah.
right? For example, I have a product that I know that there's some people that are not going to like it because they don't like the texture,
Okay.
right? It's a texture thing. So they'll put it in their mouth and they won't feel correct. But then there's other people that like the texture and love the product. So yes, I won't have these people buying, but these people are going to keep on buying forever because they love it and they'll become fans of it. And that's what you have to do. And nowadays, it's very difficult to have one product that is good for everyone.
Yeah.
So also understanding who you're going for at the beginning, at least, is very important, right? To,
Yeah.
to have a very good tailored product for that market.
It's funny you mentioned Amazon because I was going to say the exact same thing. They're really known for their customer experience, for listening to their customers, and I also love to hear that you really focus on that because I feel also sometimes, like you mentioned, some brand owners or founders they're in love with their product, but they're pushing their own agenda forward a bit, and that might not be the reason why other people want to buy it. So I think again, yeah, like you mentioned, the brands that really um, do build for retention and that do scale, listen to the feedback of their customers and adapt and pivot basically. So in terms then of your products, what makes your products then so good and also so unique?
So we have two products, or two products, no, two brands. Now, one brand is a snack, and the other one is a treat. Our
Hmm.
Sweet Will snack does exactly what I said before. We believe that people come back and buy it. So it's a keto brand, and by that I mean that it's low carb, no sugar, very, very nice taste, real chocolate, real ingredients. Now, the problem is that there has been a lot of keto products now, and they got first to market because they were closer to market, they had the resources to be able to do it, but they didn't taste well. So now you go back to market and you don't see them. You start seeing new brands because it comes this trial and failure thing because they do not deliver what people want to eat. Now I believe I have the product that people want to eat, and I have X amount of years doing it, and people have come back to buy it. Now, I need a much, much bigger audience to understand if everybody's going to agree with me, but I have a sample size big enough to know that we do deliver indulgence. And people want indulgence. before anything else, right? Because I'm gonna have a cookie, man, it's gotta taste well because I'm already sacrificing myself with a cookie. It's gotta taste well. So now that's the snack. And then the treat, it's a different reason. Why do you eat candy? Why do people eat a gummy bear? Or you want to feel good as well.
Yeah.
You want this sweetie feeling, this sweet feeling. Now, women in general, because of their hormonal changes and their palate and their pH balances and many different things, are more prone to wanting sweeter things, right? So our treat is very oriented for people that love sweets, very oriented for a women audience, a female audience,
Mhm.
and they love it. And I see people carrying that in their purse, in their lunchbox, or they carry it in their cars or wherever, because it gives them that sugary sweet feeling, but it's got no sugar. It's the perfect product, Christoph, from all the metals that I'm telling you. It's got everything, and it's made with real fruit, and it's made with egg white, so it gives you the protein. So I look at everything that it has, and then I compare it, brutally honest, with the competition. I say,
Mhm.
where are we standing here, nutritional wise? Where are we standing claim wise? And then try it. Will you buy it again?
Yeah.
And if I have a check on all those things, then I go to market because it's very expensive to go to market. And we have all those things. And that's our smooch meringues. Fantastic product. It's coming to market this year. Um, and I've done that. So I'm going to market with something that it's tried and proven, and we've been brutally honest with it. So that's why we're confident with it.
This all makes me just want to ask one question. And will you ship to France? Because you've completely sold it to me. I want to try it. Do you ship to France?
Well, France is interesting because it's a meringue eating country.
Yes.
It's the France is the country in the world and the capital of the world for meringues. So I will have to get to France at some point. We are in America, and shipping product as a meringue to Europe is very expensive
Mhm.
and doesn't make a lot of sense environmentally speaking. So we will make some meringues at some point and start some manufacturing in Europe. And when we do, we will get to France. Now we will do some trials through Amazon in Europe,
Mhm.
just to put it out there and have the consumer try it, because it's also a very European product in the sense that it's the meringue is it's been invented in Italy, Switzerland, and France are the three big meringue producing countries. So Belgium also. So we'll be there at some point. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Because yeah, I definitely think, like you said, especially in France, they eat so much of it. So if you can give them a healthy alternative to it, there's no reason they don't really fall in love with it, you know? So that could be a really nice idea.
Who knows what the French believe? A meringue
It's,
without sugar. How can this be?
yeah, they might be too skeptical or not even try it. They're difficult race to understand. I agree though. But we talked about, you know, your career, the way you make decisions. I'm really curious now as to what is your why? What's the reason you want to get out of bed in the morning and do what you do?
I love to work, Christoph. And by
Good
that, I
answer.
mean not work. I think that's because work is such a tough word.
Yeah.
I love to do things because what's the alternative? Have you ever sat down for a long vacation? It gets boring.
Mm,
And I like to build things, and I like to talk about products and packaging. How am I going to get to market and solving problems? And it's just such a satisfaction. Listen to this. I haven't spoken about money, um,
true.
eh, which is important to have, but it's hygienic, right? I need to have an income. Once I have it, that'll pay for stuff, and it's hygienic, right? Once you have that, you put it aside, and then it's all about what am I doing every day? What am I building? What do we do? What does my day look like? And of course, there are very boring days, tough ones, things that I don't want to do, as with everything. But I love what I do, truly, fully.
I love your mindset though, because like you said, you don't talk about or didn't even talk about the money. And it's really just more enjoying, I think, the journey and the process of building things, having an impact, seeing what you've done. And I think naturally, when you're doing good things and you're helping people and you're providing value to people, the money will naturally follow, even if it's not your first priority. So, next question is, Steven, and if this is too personal,
But just to make this clear,
yeah.
it's hygienic. And by that I mean that if you have a hygienic need,
Hmm.
it becomes on top of everything else. So if you have a money need, of course you're going to be making decisions related to that, and that's okay. And you can. And then you'll change and you'll move. It's like punting, right? Make this decision. Maybe it's not your dream job, but that's okay. You'll learn.
Yeah.
And then find, but money is important. We can't be tone deaf about it because it is. But if you take that away and you can choose, then it's all about enjoying what you do every day. And it's a mindset and attitude too, right? Um,
I agree. I agree. If I think the winning position you can be in is really enjoying what you do and also getting paid well for it, then I think you're having the best of both worlds. So then before the question I was going to ask you, but it brings me back to another one I was wondering, and potentially you already answered it, but what do you think is one trait that you have that has helped you throughout your entire career? Because there were probably moments you had doubts, maybe you wanted to give up, but there was this one thing, if we're having this conversation right now together, it means you didn't give up. What was that trait then?
well, I actually have struggled with it a lot, and I think a lot of people struggle with it, which is the word that I mentioned before. It's called resilience because it's tough, right? Keeping a diet is tough. Keeping
Yes.
your will to go to the gym is tough. So your willpower, which you can relate to resilience, are two things that are intertwined, right? You have to have the willpower and the resilience to continue, in spite of whatever the circumstances are. And what I say, it's not my natural trait. There's people that have that are disciplined by nature. I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm an innovator. I'm a creator. I'm an extrovert. I talk a lot. I move my hands. But resilience didn't come with me. But I talk about it because I have grown into it. I have it in my mind. I work with it. I struggle with it. But it's the one thing that I have become good at through sheer work. So you can get good at, because I realized that without it, I was gonna be a failure. I was gonna fail. You need that in your toolkit. You need to have willpower and resilience with whatever you do.
Okay, so you weren't one of those guys that naturally had that natural resilience, but you've actually built it in yourself. So that's really interesting, actually, because some people they don't actually have the resilience to build it, but it's actually really interesting to see that you had that resilience to push through and actually build it in yourself. Now, would you also agree that it's a constant battle that even now you need to try and see if you still have that resilience, or do you think that once you went past a certain phase, you just always have it?
Well, let me tell you that I chose to tell you resilience because it's precisely not the thing that I'm naturally talented with. Because I
Okay.
cannot be proud of the things that I'm already naturally talented with. So I can stand up and talk to a group of people without any problem. There's people that are frightened. I'm not. I do that naturally. I never had to put an effort on that,
Okay.
right? I am very proud about the resilience and willpower I've been able to create because it has been tough to do,
Okay.
right? And because it has been tough to do, you will always try to migrate to what you are comfortable with,
Yeah.
not what it is tough. So no, I can't leave it aside. I need
Okay.
to every day wake up and say, I'll be resilient and I'll have strong willpower today. Again, and knowing what you're not good at is very good so that you can keep yourself aware of it, because the things that you're good at, if they will flow naturally, right? And it's important to all to know that yes, you can get good at things that you're not good at. And there's also people that say, but you should stick to your guns. Just do the things that you're good at because the others take a lot of energy. That is true in many things,
Hmm.
but there are others that you just need.
Yeah.
And willpower and resilience you need, period. So yeah, that's
Yeah. I love that.
that's a good one to have.
I love that because yeah, you every day you just work at it head on and make sure that it really helps you. So then what can we expect this year from Sweetwell Snacks? What's going to change? What's new?
Well, with Sweetwell, it's getting it out there, spreading the word, having people try it, and that's my aspiration. Have people try it, and if they like it, to come back and buy it, and if they don't, well, they didn't like it, and we'll have to do a better job. So Sweetwell is a project that it's keto oriented.
Hmm.
People have thought, keto is it a fad? Is it not a fad? Is
Yeah.
that keto is factually something, it's metabolic, it's in your body, so it can't be a fad, it's part of you. It's like saying if insulin is a fad. No, insulin is insulin,
Can't be,
right?
no. Hmm.
um So keto is going to be there, and more importantly, the awareness that having a lot of sugar is not good. Now, do I advocate the keto diet? No, not necessarily. What I'm saying is have my cookie as a snack, and then go have your pasta or have your beer at night, right? So it's how you pick your carbs. Where do you
Yeah.
want to pick your sugars? That's what we're trying to help. So it's more helping the journey. So Sweet Will is going to be out there, and people will pick it up, and we're entering the U.S. and Canadian markets primarily at this stage, something in Latin America. And smooch meringues, that's a different story. Smooch meringues are going to be launched this year. We're already talking with a lot of people excited about it. In May, we're going to be at the Sweet and Candy Expo,
Nice.
and that's where we're going to show it around. And we want this to be in everybody's hand, everybody, because this is not about a keto diet. This is about giving yourself the opportunity of having a sweet that is very good for you, period. So instead of the gummies, there have been very good gummies and candies that are sugar-free but they have high carbs anyway. We are a perfect treat, basically. I believe so. A lot of people say it. A lot of people throw these words out, but I believe in it strongly. And when you have it and taste it, our pineapple and coconut, for example, has coconut fibers, and you say, this is really like of the heart of the tropical Costa Rica in my mouth. So yeah, we're bringing Spooch to the world. We're gonna, a better way to take care of yourself.
Sounds like an interesting year. And again, the only thing I want to do now is just taste one of these products right now. But hopefully I'll get to that one day. But it sounds like a very interesting year for you guys coming up. And then bonus final question. If you were stranded on an island and you could only choose one of your products, which one would you choose to take with you?
Well, as I said, the meringues are beautiful, but they're still treats. They don't give you nutrition.
Okay.
Right? So I would have to take nutrition. And with that, I would go with our Sweet Will snacks who have good fats. So it's either a coconut cookie or chocolate almonds, dark chocolate almonds. I think they bring you the punch that you would need to be stranded in an island. But since in that island, I would have coconut, I'll have my dark chocolate nuts with me.
I love how tactical you're even thinking about that. You need to have something nutritional. So, okay. Stephen, thank you very much. It was super interesting, really, really valuable. And thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely, Christoph. Pleasure to meet you. And whenever you guys need to talk about and do a CO panel, let me know. That would be great.
We'll do with pleasure. Thank you very much, Stephen.